Hello, guys, and welcome back to our second podcast this year. And what I'm going to talk about in this podcast is what is wrong at Chelsea. And I have narrowed this down to 5 reasons why Chelsea are actually experiencing turmoil this season. And why is Chelsea actually in a crisis? Because Chelsea are sixth in the table and they are not so far from the top four, but everybody else has seen the crisis that Chelsea are in. Chelsea were a team that going into the Christmas Eve fixture against Everton were looking to win that game and move top of the league. But at the moment, Chelsea are sixth. Chelsea have just won 2 out of their last 9 Premier League games. Chelsea are out of the Carabao Cup, they're out of the FA Cup, and they can only rely upon the Conference League this season. There's been a lot that has been happening at Chelsea, and there are some key contributing factors that have made Chelsea to be in the situation they are in this season. And in this podcast, I want to clearly explain the 5 reasons why everything is going wrong at Chelsea. And I'm going to give my explanations both positively and negatively and point out areas where I see this problem. And let me move to the first point, and that is the manager, Enzo Maresca. Now, a lot of us had a lot of faith in Enzo Maresca, and Maresca recently has come out, and we have seen the other side of Enzo Maresca that we did not see in the first half of the season. And this has exposed itself in the press conferences. Now, Enzo Maresca, a manager who seemed to know what he's doing at Chelsea, now is actually being questioned tactically. What he says in press conferences have actually affected the players, like saying Chelsea are not in the title race, yet Chelsea were actually in one during that time, talking about how Chelsea's goal this season is not in the top four and seeing the wheels just fall off from the team. These are some of the contributing factors that Enzo Maresca has done at this club that are actually putting Chelsea in a problem. Not only that, we're also seeing tactical problems with regards to how Enzo Maresca actually wants his team to play. We know very well that Enzo Maresca has come from a possession-based positional play kind of system and philosophy of football when he worked with Pep Guardiola. Now, with Enzo Maresca's system, it involves heavy control of games, controlling the game in possession and out of possession. Now, in the earlier stages of the season, there was some semblance of Pochettino ball that we saw towards the latter ends of the season, where Chelsea looked like a team that were looking to try and just play like a ping pong kind of football, something that even Enzo Maresca has described, where Chelsea were looking to move from defense to attack very fast. That's why we saw in the first half of the season, there was some remnants of Pochettino ball, where Chelsea was so lightning in terms of how they attacked. But the more Maresca has been coaching Chelsea, we are seeing Chelsea taking up a conservative kind of approach. They are looking to play short passes. They are looking to move the ball slowly. Their movement with the ball is also not quite great. So Chelsea are dwelling a lot in possession, but they are not actually actualizing what the man or what is expected of them with the ball, because they are looking to try and control the game. But you're also seeing a drop off when it comes to Chelsea's pressing. The manner in which Chelsea were pressing has also dropped off, meaning that Chelsea, yes, are controlling the ball in possession, but whenever, even if they have the ball in possession, they are unable to threaten the opposition. And recently, with the absence and the drop in form of Nicholas Jackson, we have seen a Chelsea that is very, very toothless when it comes to being in front of goal. In my past 4 videos in this channel, I've talked about how Chelsea have lacked a strong presence in the box, a strong presence occupying the center backs. And so far, Enzo Maresca has failed to come up with a solution for this, heavily relying upon his tactics rather than even looking to change his overall tactics. Maresca, in this situation, we have seen him even asking Jackson to play like a false nine, dropping deep. But the problem is, even if Jackson plays in this position, we do not see players who are looking to make runs beyond the opposition defense line. We are not seeing runners. and Jackson is the only runner. And now this is giving the opponent the predictability and the calmness of defending against Chelsea, because Chelsea are not having players who are willing to make runs in behind and create threatening situations for the opponents. We are seeing a Chelsea that is very toothless, a Chelsea that has been found out, a Chelsea that does not commit a lot of players in attack, and a Chelsea that is very stale in possession. The last game against Brighton, Chelsea had 70% of possession with 0 shots on target. I don't even remember the last time Chelsea went an entire 90 minutes without a single shot on target. This can be blamed solely on the manager, because the manager is the one who's supposed to instruct players to occupy certain positions where they can find themselves in positions where they are able to effect the game. But in this case, Enzo Maresca has failed to do that. We are also seeing a manager who has not been adaptable with the way he organizes his team defensively, especially seeing Chelsea's aggressive high line. Maresca might want to have a controlled approach, but that approach is not giving him results at the moment. He has even failed to revert into a different formation so that he can get results. And that's why he is one of the problems that Chelsea have at the moment. And then this moves me to the second problem, and that is the squad. As much as we want to hammer Enzo Maresca, Maresca is finding himself in a situation where the squad that has been assembled for him is not the squad that is good or suitable for an inexperienced manager. Chelsea have one of the youngest squads in the league. The average age of Chelsea's squad is 23 years, and this squad is so inexperienced. Chelsea's squad has players who have the potential to be one of the best players in Europe. They have the potential, but they have not maximized that potential. Let me give you an example. If you are working probably as an intern doctor, you will learn on the job. So when it comes to your practice of medicine, you will actually learn from the job. So if you work as a doctor for 5 years, you are better equipped than a doctor who's an intern who has just worked for some months or a year. Now, Chelsea is finding themselves in that exact situation where Chelsea are heavily relying upon young players who are just from other academies in Europe to come in and compete with experienced players in the Premier League. Yes, there are some players in this team who have stepped up, like Cole Palmer. Regardless of his age, he has stepped up and he has been a consistent performer week in, week out. Despite whatever other people want to say, Palmer has been a player who has been performing and has been creating chances similar to the way he has been doing in the past. But we still find that problem. Now, when you look at the squad that Chelsea have, you find that the players, majority of them are very raw. They are very raw defenders like Colwell, who's unable even to make some simple defensive decisions. Chalobah, who was also a lot of fans cried about, has come back, is still making those errors. And we are seeing a squad that even lacks the leadership, because the next issue that Chelsea have is the sporting directors. Yes, Chelsea have a sporting director problem. Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart were poached from Brighton. And these two gentlemen have managed to change Chelsea from the title contenders, Champions League contenders, into Brighton. Chelsea are the new Brighton. And this is how they have done it. Now, both of these, two of these sporting directors have got it wrong in all fronts. But again, can you blame them? Both of them were recruitment managers at Brighton. They were not sporting directors. So they were coming into a new, higher role without any experience. These two do not understand the task of managing a top club like Chelsea, the ambition. They are the ones who lay the blueprint of how the club should be, both the short term, the medium term, and the long term goals of the club. It's 3 years. Chelsea have not been in the Champions League. Chelsea have had close to 6 managers. Chelsea are not looking like they are progressing. They are the ones who have been selling this project kind of thing. And mostly, even the way they influence the recruitment of the club has been absolutely horrendous. Just a clean example is about the signing of João Felix for 40 million. They signed João Felix for 40 million only to loan him out to AC Milan in the January transfer window. So the point was, what was the point of signing him when it looked clearly that Aston Villa had just asked for 45 million for Duran, who would have been a better striking option for Nicholas Jackson? You can also see their reluctance when it comes to uh, signing players in the January transfer window, when it looked very clear that Chelsea needed a number 9 so that they can secure top 4. And now, because they know that when they look at the squad, when the manager gives them feedback about the squad, they can see that this squad is not able to meet the expectations this season. They now send the manager to go and say that Chelsea's aim this season was not the top 4. How can you say that? Yet, we have teams like Nottingham Forest, AFC Bournemouth, who are outsiders who are more likely to get to the top 4 than Chelsea. These two gentlemen are also the ones who are tasked to recruit the manager for the club, recruit the coaches for the club, and we are seeing them not doing their best. The only signing that Chelsea have made during this winter period was signing a rugby player to come and motivate the squad. They are the ones who run the day-to-day activities of the club. They are the ones who are in charge of the recruitment of the club. And here we are. Here we find ourselves. Both of them have managed to regress Chelsea progressively. Both of them have managed to turn a team that won the Champions League just 3 years ago into a club that cannot even finish in the top 4. But blaming the sporting directors is just doesn't make sense if you don't focus on the ownership. And that is where the problem starts. They are the head of the club. They're the ones who have put the money in the club. Now, with the clearly Todd Boehly consortium, which is known as Blueco, we are seeing an ownership that is so detached with the expectations of the football club. And one area that we are seeing this happening is the managers. So it's been 3 seasons. Chelsea have had 6 managers. Chelsea have had 0 trophies. Now, when you compare this ownership with the ownership of Roman Abramovich, what you notice is that despite Roman Abramovich constantly sacking managers, this came with Chelsea winning trophies. And Roman Abramovich was not hiring inexperienced managers. Like, for example, we were in a point in the summer where our options were Thomas Frank, Kieran McKenna, and Enzo Maresca. Now, when you look at the managers who they have sacked, 2 of those managers were experienced, successful managers in Thomas Tuchel and Pochettino. Despite Pochettino not winning anything, we could see what he did at Tottenham Hotspur. We could see how he was able to build a team that challenged for the league 2 seasons in a row. Thomas Tuchel, who was the manager who made Chelsea finish 3rd the previous season and won them the Club World Cup, was sacked immediately the season began. Thomas Tuchel, a manager who stuck with Chelsea despite the sanctions that Chelsea went through, a manager who persisted with Chelsea, a manager who had a strong passion with Chelsea, was hounded out of the club in the most humiliating way. They did not give him any time, and they came up with excuses that Thomas Tuchel did not align with their project. But the question is, it's been 3 seasons, and even the 3rd season, it is looking more likely that Chelsea will not even be in the top 4. The fans have identified this. The fans have identified that there's no point of blaming the manager and blaming the players because the problem stems from the ownership. The ownership are coming up with a model where they are only focusing on signing young players and looking to sell those young players for huge profits. And they do not care whether there is on the pitch performances. They do not care whether there is Chelsea are looking to compete. Chelsea are looking to play in the highest uh, divisions of football. And even we had a rumor that Cole Palmer had an exit clause in the contract he signed, and they could actually take up money if the right offer came for Cole Palmer at the end of the season. This just shows you that to them, this is just business. They're looking to make money. They don't care about the on-pitch performances of the club. What they care about is signing young players and reselling them and using the Chelsea brand to maximize this. And this has seen the club regress to where the club finds itself. And this leads us to the one of the critical components of their ownership, and that is the recruitment. Chelsea's recruitment has been down. And I'm going to say this: Chelsea's recruitment has been down because a lot of people look at the number of players who have performed and they say, okay, the recruitment got it well. But if you sign 100 players, you're more likely to have 20 players who work out. And I used a prime example earlier on where Chelsea went ahead and signed João Felix, a good player, yes. But was this the player that Chelsea needed? When you look at the situation now, Chelsea are light in midfield. Conor Gallagher, who had been one of Chelsea's best midfielders last season, is out. He's been sold out. And now Caicedo has to carry the burden of that midfield by himself. And he's more likely looking to wear down. Nobody's there to help him. Again, the question goes back to the recruitment. Looking at even the defenders who are being signed. Chelsea signed Axel Disasi and Benoit, who have fallen short of expectations at the club. Disasi has not been just that guy for Chelsea's defense. Benoit has been plagued with injuries, and even when he comes to the team, you can just see how unaware and how his lack of defensive awareness showcases itself on the pitch. The recruitment did not look at getting an established centre back to replace Thiago Silva. We have also seen that they are signing injury-prone players. Fofana has been injury-prone, yet he's one of the centre-backs who's supposed to start for Chelsea week in, week out. Romeo Lavia, who was supposed to come in and give that rest to Caicedo, is doing nothing. He just plays 2 games, he goes out long injured. Comes back, plays 2 games, is out again injured. And you're asking yourself, why are you signing players without looking at their injury situation? And this falls squarely on the recruitment. We can see that the recruitment has signed a bunch of young players. They have not factored in experience into that signing process because they are trying to sign players for the future. They are signing players at low wages. They are looking to try and get players at low wages so that they can sign them, hoping that these players are going to be stars and then resell them. So they are using the Chelsea brand to sell it to players. Players think that they are coming to perform very well at Chelsea, yet they are coming to play at Chelsea, get experience, get to be seen, and then they get to be sold. You cannot tell me that even a manager like Maresca is coming in, he does not have an experienced centre back. He has a clown in between the posts. He doesn't have a striker who's experienced and who can stick the ball in the back of the net. And we are seeing a recruitment that has spent 1 billion, and the overall squad of Chelsea is still falling short of the best squads in the league. And this can be heavily put at the ownership who have sanctioned these purchases. Now, Chelsea, the cracks are looking to open. We can see the fight between the ownership, the Clearly Capital, and the Todd Boehly, who are constantly in fights trying to outbuy each other. The off-the-pitch problems have now manifested themselves on the pitch. We are seeing that they did not have a plan for Chelsea. Their plan was just to make money. Their plan was just to sign a bunch of young players and look to resell them to make huge profits. There is no ambition from the club when it comes to assembling a squad that is ready to compete. The long-term goals of the club, such as finishing in the top 4, are not in the club's top priority. And they're hiring managers who are yes men, who are able to bend down and be able to do whatever they ask them to do without questioning. What do you think? Do you agree with me? Leave your comments in the comment section area below. Thanks for watching.